Hello everyone, we are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
Vince, today's question comes from Stitch99, who asks, do superheroes have to have superpowers to be considered superheroes? It's a classic question. I'm surprised actually that we've never done this particular topic. And you know, Vince, it's like an
The answer is yes.
It's really is it? That's your answer to everything. Okay. Well, actually, sometimes it's no.
Do you want a switch kick at the pants? Yes.
Anyway, it brings up that classic debate. Is Batman a superhero? You know, he wears a cape, he wears a costume, he goes around and he fights crime, but can you be considered a superhero just because you fight crime? Well, obviously not, because cops are not just immediately superheroes. In fact, you've got superheroes that are cops sometimes, and then they're superheroes sometimes. Like,
you know, that brings up a good question. Renee Montoya. She's effectively a superhero now because she's the Question.
But she wasn't before she was the Question.
But what does she have that's really special?
A superpower. I mean, no, not a superpower.
She has a mask.
She has a costume.
And that is it.
Mm-hmm.
Which I suppose, now we're getting into a little psychology, and I accidentally did that.
All right.
But what makes you a superhero? Maybe there's a mindset. Maybe you put on the mask and you're suddenly free from whatever constrictions they put on the average citizen versus vigilante laws. Maybe you put on your costume and you suddenly feel you're above something else, so therefore you're above the law, so you can do as you wish.
Yeah, maybe so, but there's another word for that, vigilante.
This is true.
Which does not necessarily make you a superhero.
So is Batman a vigilante or a superhero?
Well, he's always classically been considered a vigilante and a superhero. Okay, here's a question for you. The DC character Vigilante.
I don't know anything about the guy.
I don't know a great deal about Vigilante, but I wonder if he would widely be considered a superhero. His name is Vigilante. He is a vigilante, but is he a superhero? Is Anarchy a superhero?
I don't know much about that guy either.
Yeah. Well, I think he's one of those characters that's kind of jumped, straddled the fence a little bit. Where I think, but I don't know a great deal about him either. But I'm just saying, like it gets really interesting when superhero type characters get names that make you think that they can't be superheroes because they already have this other moniker put on them. You know what I mean?
Like Magneto. Of course, he's a superhero. He's just a magnet at the same time.
Really?
No.
He's a villain anyway.
This is true.
So all right. So the best argument I've heard for why Batman's a superhero, and I'm just focusing on this because he's one of those. He's one of the biggest. Okay, he doesn't have powers, but people think of him as a superhero. The best thing I've heard, and I like this a lot, is he's a superhero in the sense of not only does he have a costume, but he can do something no one else can do. Yeah. It's not a superpower, but it's close enough.
So I was just thinking roughly the same thing actually. Let's in a way define superhero in this context, not necessarily for what superhero is, but a hero is somebody who does something heroic, essentially, right. And a superhero is somebody who does something heroic beyond the means of your normal human being. So therefore, Cap here would be a superhero if he were to run into a building, or run into a burning building and save a baby. I was about to say run into a building and save a burning baby.
Well, I'd be a hero for doing that, not necessarily a superhero.
But say you're wearing a Spider-Man costume, you swing inside and use your webbing to put out fires. Mm-hmm. As impractical as that might be, I don't know. Then,
but even that, and we start getting really geeky when we get into this. But even that wouldn't make you a superhero unless, if we're defining it this way, unless you were the only person on Earth who can make webbing. Because unless we're talking about movie Spider-Man, the webbing isn't a superpower.
Well,
so I'm just saying, if Spider-Man didn't have superpowers and he just had the ability to make webbing, he wouldn't necessarily be a superhero in the context that we're talking about. If we're saying that you have to be able to do something no one else can do, or very few other people can do, to be considered a superhero.
Well, then Batman wouldn't be a superhero.
See,
because anybody with a fortune could train their bodies.
No, world's greatest detective. There it is.
Well, even then, would he really be a superhero if he didn't have all of his gadgets? Because then he'd just be a really good detective.
No, he wouldn't be. But all of these things would have to be in place. And I think the part of the reason that it doesn't matter that it's circumstantial. I think it's just that he really is the only person who can do what he can do because the circumstances are right and the mentality is right, and he's a genius. And you put those three things together, and you've got Batman, and nobody else can quite get that. Because I mean, like, okay, so maybe you're rich, but you might not, you might not have the mental capacity to become the genius detective that Batman is.
But I think there is feasibly somebody out there who both has the funds and the brains to do it.
This gets better. This gets better. In this context, is Green Arrow a superhero?
See, I always wondered that.
Because now we've got Batman without quite the same smarts, right? I mean, Green Arrow is certainly a really smart character. Don't get me wrong, but he's not the world's greatest detective. I mean, now maybe he is like the best shot with a bow and arrow. I don't know. It seems like most of these characters have that thing that almost no one else can do. Or so I don't know. Like,
well, I think it's not.
Do you have
so
to
much
just be extremely skilled and have another identity? Like, is this the requirement?
I'm going to say potentially. I think you have to have something that sets you apart from the average human, not necessarily from everybody else, because, Hawkeye and Bullseye are really good at hitting the same target. Or
sure.
No, I said that wrong, but I'm pretty sure you get what I mean.
At the same time.
They're extremely good shots. They're effectively good at the same thing. And they both exist in the same universe. One's a super villain, the other's a superhero. One was a superhero for a while. So, effectively, you could have superpowers and not be the only person with those superpowers still be a superhero.
Well, that's absolutely true. Well, but the thing is, as far as superpowers go, I think that if you wear a costume and you have superpowers, you are just instantly considered a superhero. But the question is, the people who don't have superpowers, how do we get them to the point where we can call them superheroes? I don't know. That's really interesting. I kind of wonder how important it is, really. You know what I mean? Like I think it's more that, okay, we're in a universe in which we do have people with superpowers, and then we have extraordinary mortal human beings who don't have superpowers who do the same thing. Haven't they earned the right to be considered superheroes? That's where I come down on it. Like you are a superhero if you get struck by lightning and you can run really fast and you save people or you stop bad guys. Okay, you're a superhero. You're the Flash. You're Impulse. You're whoever. Okay, but you're Quicksilver. But if you train yourself to hit anything with a bow and arrow and you wear a costume and you do all the stuff that Flash does, save people, stop crimes, haven't you earned the right to be considered a superhero, even if you technically aren't really?
I got into an argument with somebody and effectively lost because we were talking about the Ninja Turtles. And I said, are these guys really superheroes? Somebody called them superheroes. I said, they're not superheroes. They're mutants who were trained by their master. And then suddenly somebody said, well, what about Batman? He was trained. What about these people? And I went, well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, how many people are actually ninjas? And so they're doing something extraordinary, and they potentially have different physical attributes due to the mutagen.
Yeah, exactly. There's that. When you get into stuff like that, I mean, they almost have superpowers just in being a different creature with different abilities than humans have. They certainly have enhanced agility. They're stronger. That kind of thing. They're more. I think.
I'm not going to say they're shorter. So
they're more durable. They have
that handy shell.
They've got that shell. That's got to count for something. So yeah. I don't know. I come down on it in somewhat of a, I don't know, in somewhat of a noble sort of place where, like, if you're good enough at what you do and you wear a costume, I'm probably going to call you a superhero. I don't know if I'm right or not, but I'm probably going to consider you a superhero. Iron Man, he's a superpower. He's a superhero. He doesn't even have a secret identity anymore. He's still a superhero. Like, I don't know if you even need a secret identity to be considered a superhero.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. It's unfortunate that I feel like we kind of walked into this having a preconception of what the answer could be.
Oh, I think everybody does, though. So I mean, people that are big into superheroes. I think everybody has an opinion about this.
I don't think there's anybody out there who really wants to say that Batman is not a superhero.
I don't know. I've heard the argument quite a bit, and I've heard the argument from Batman fans who, I mean, are huge Batman fans, and they almost don't want him to. So some people I've talked to, I don't want to step on anybody. I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth, but I have talked to folks who are huge Batman fans, but they think of him more in terms of a brilliant detective than a superhero, and almost as if he wouldn't even have to wear a costume. It wouldn't bother them that much. They like the idea of Batman, and he doesn't have to be a superhero. I don't know. I think it's really interesting.
Well, maybe we should Try to get one of those writers to write one of those things. Hey guys, do a Batman story without a costume.
If Batman was in a universe, say kind of like the Chris Nolan universe, where there weren't a bunch of people running around with superpowers, he would be the closest thing to a superhero.
You know, it would effectively be a James Bond movie.
Yeah, with the costume. And
only a little better.
The beautiful thing about Batman is it's not like, okay, I want to be a superhero, so I have to wear a cape. It's his costume is for a very specific reason.
Well, intimidation.
I want to intimidate people. That has nothing to do with am I or am I not a superhero, which puts him in kind of a league of his own. So that's really interesting.
Then how do you explain Robin?
That's harder. Robin becomes one of those things where he is already in a universe with superheroes, and he's not just that, but I mean, he needs a partner. His partner has to have a costume. You know what I mean? He can't just, I don't know. It would make more sense if he was trying to intimidate people as well. But you got to remember that Robin was invented in a different time.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's true.
Well, what do you think? What makes a superhero? Do superheroes have to have superpowers? Fascinating topic. It's an age-old geeky discussion. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Also, leave a comment if there's something you'd like us to talk about in a future Geeks Not Nerds. And if you're ever in the Kansas City area, make sure you go to 87th Street in Overland Park, Kansas. Check out Pop Culture Comics. And thanks a lot for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince, reminding you to support your local comic book store.
See you next time.